well, now that we can see how short life really can be, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? That's a trigger. That's the biggest trigger that I have ever experienced. What are you going to do the rest of your life? And what I had to do is I had to start taking some of my own advice. I have been telling people, I had written about it for a very long time, that if you're doing something that you're not totally committed to, if you're doing something that you're not totally passionate about, you're compromising yourself every day.
I came home one night from work spraying for cockroaches, and long story short, I turned on the Discovery Channel. I saw some guys going through Navy SEAL training, and they were going through Hell Week, and they were getting their ass just beat. You know, in and out of the water, guys ringing the bell. They were suffering, and I was weighing like 297 pounds, and I had to make a change in my life. You know, I was at an all-time low, and I wasn't going anywhere, and I was exactly what everybody said I was gonna be, which was nothing. So I had to make a change.
What was it about seeing suffering that's really interesting, and I actually get it, but I want to hear you explain it. Why suffering was the thing that triggered that thought?
Well, for me, growing up, I came from a horrible background. I got called nigger every day of my life growing up, lived in a small town. The Klan headquarters at that time was about 20 minutes from where I lived. Right. One of the high ups in the KKK, son, sat behind me in 2 classes, so he called me nigger all the time. I got my first car, they spray painted nigger, we're gonna kill you on it. So I was just an insecure, scared kid. And the only way I could find myself was through putting myself through the worst thing possible. I'm gonna say the exact opposite of what today's world is saying. So we read a bunch of books nowadays. As humans, we wanna find out how to be someone else. What we don't do is we don't go inside. So literally turn yourself inside out. Read the book that's like we're writing a book every day of our lives. Every day we're seeing who we are as people. When I was growing up, I lied for people to accept me because I didn't accept myself. So I would make up stories so then you would accept me into your world. I would, everything I did was for someone else to like me. It wasn't until I started reading my own book about how pathetic I was as a human being. I can blame my dad, I can blame kids at school, I can blame having health issues, ADD, my mom not being around. Great mom, but she was doing her thing.
Right.
I could blame a lot of people. And that's the book I was reading. And I put it off on everybody else. It wasn't until I said, you know what, for me to fix this, I gotta read what the f is wrong with David Goggins. Not blame anybody. Read my book and say, okay, I'm afraid of my shadow. How can I overcome that? Go in the military, get your ass kicked, do things you hate to do, be uncomfortable every day of your life. Roger that. I'm not the smartest kid in the world. Okay. Instead of somebody saying, oh no, you're smart. No, don't say that to yourself. I said to myself, no, I'm a dumb. Okay, roger that. How you get smarter? Educate yourself. So the things that we run from the truth. We're running from the truth, man. So the only way I became successful was going towards the truth. As painful and as brutal as it is, it changed me. It allowed me to become, in my own right, who I am today.
The world is a hurting place, and the world needs hope, and the world needs love. Without hope, we feel like, why are we here? Well, brokenness. Here's mine. Today, I still have no arms, no legs, but everything's changed. Everything. For me, I was looking for hope and happiness, and I couldn't see it for many years. In fact, if this side of the table represents my hope, truth encourages me to become all that I can be. But then we have lies every day coming in our mind, people who discourage us. You know the people that you have in your life who, no matter how good of a day you're having, they'll bring you down. Or no matter how bad of a day you're having, they'll bring you even lower. You know what I'm talking about? Think of the 3 biggest discouragers in your life. They're not your biggest discouragers. You are. you are. It only takes 3 seconds for me to tell you something discouraging, but then you may never forget my words. I've met so many 50-year-old women and 40-year-old women who still remember what their fathers told them that they wish they never heard. Words are powerful. When you hear those words and then your mind starts growing with these lies, Nick, you're not good enough. Nick, just give up. Nick, you're never going to get a job. You won't get married. You can't even hold your wife's hand. What kind of a father are you going to be if you can't even pick up your kids when they're crying? You're alone. Sure, your parents hug you, but their hugs can't heal you. Just give up. 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 At age 8, I thought that I should commit suicide. Why? Because I didn't have hope. I thought I didn't have hope. Today you can see that I had hope. What's the word? Believing in something you do not see. Faith. Words can only do so much. Hugs can do much more than words. But when hugs can't do anything, that's where faith kicks in. For me, words and hugs were not enough, but I had no faith.
I get it back by remembering that you might die tomorrow.
That's true.
So I'm inspired by practicality and reality and the truth, which is, it is ridiculously impossible to become a human being. I am one. I have other good things going for me as a human being, and I'm just grateful. You're dwelling and looking at what you don't have versus looking at what you have. If you actually looked at what you had, your health, living in America, who the heck knows what would be on your list? If you actually spent all your time looking at that versus, I don't have $1 million, I'm not famous, I don't have this. If you spent all your time on what you have versus what you don't have, you would be the happiest girl on earth.
My mother taught me 3 things: respect, knowledge, search for knowledge. It's an eternal journey. That's like my haircut, the line, 360 degrees find knowledge, always. And she taught me to not be quiet, to, if there's something on my mind, speak it. That's what that was the breath. She always taught, but also to listen. And she told me this little joke that God gave you 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to speak. 2 ears and 1 mouth, common sense. 1 mouth, you should speak, but you should also listen. And that's where the knowledge comes from, listening. And once you get the knowledge, then you can speak. And it helps you. So she taught me respect, knowledge, and understanding, mostly, just listen a lot.
Use your power of potential and make this nation and this world a better place. It worked for this immigrant that came over here to this country with $20 in a pocket, and I know and I guarantee you it will work for you too.
I try and be decisive. I try and, even if I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I try to be decisive because I think it's very comforting and reassuring and important to the people that are working with you to feel that whoever is in charge knows what they're doing and knows what they're thinking, and that if it's a yes, it's a yes, and it's a no, it's a no. I mean, I don't think of myself as a boss. I mean, I think of myself as someone who's giving direction and guidance and vice versa.
Well, I sold heavy-duty waterless cookware on the door-to-door demonstration plan, and that was a marvelous experience. It took me, the first 2.5 years, I struggled financially. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't sell a lot, because I did. I sold my furniture, sold my car. And that's fairly close to the truth. It really was. Then I went to a meeting, and a man named P.C. Merrill, who's an American Indian, persuaded me that I could be the #1 salesman in America out of the 7,000-member sales force. He said, you've got everything that it takes to be a great salesman if you just believed in yourself and went to work on a regular schedule.
And this is in cookware business?
That's
still?
right.
Okay.
And I put on the demonstration and door-to-door sales and so forth. I'd never had anybody say something like that to me. You could be a great one. You could be the national champion. Now, I've always been loved, but nobody ever thought of me as a champion. Because of Mr. Merrill's integrity, and because he had written the training program, and because he had set all of the records, I took him absolutely at his word. The previous year, I had not been in the top 5,000 out of that 7,000 member sales force. But the year after Mr. Merrill got through with me, I was number 2 out of the 7,000. Had received the best promotion that was available in the company at that time. And the interesting thing about the success that year, he did not really teach me that much about sales. I'd been in it 2.5 years at that point. But what he did teach me was about who I was. The picture I had of myself changed dramatically. I started thinking as a champion and performing as a champion. And I did finish number 2 and had that wonderful promotion.
Here's an important point. Nothing works the first time. When you try something new, it probably won't work. When you try something new several times, it probably won't work. And the turning point in my life came when I would hear good ideas, and I was so eager to be successful in selling. I would run out and try the ideas, and they wouldn't work. I'd try a way of getting an appointment or answering an objection or closing a sale. It wouldn't work. And my natural response, and I think just to be disappointed. And then I realized nothing works, at least the first few times. So I decided I would try a new idea 5 or 10 times before I passed judgment on it. I would not just try it once and quit like most people do, and that changed my whole life. It was a turning point in my life because I realized from then on, if you've got a good idea and you've got a good goal and you want to double your income and improve the quality of your life, and you have to try new things in order to get new results, it's not going to work the first time. So you say, well, that didn't work, try something else and try something else and try something else. Now, if you try, only 2 things can happen. What are they? Succeed or fail. If you succeed, you do more of it. If you fail, you learn from it, get smarter, and try it again. So you cannot lose by taking action. You can only lose by not taking action.
Directed like music videos before for the Foo Fighters, and it's easy. I honestly believe that if you're focused and passionate and driven, you can achieve anything you want to achieve in life. Because I honestly believe that, because you'll figure it out, you know what I mean? So I never took lessons to play the drums. I just figured it out. And I never took lessons to play guitar. I took maybe a few, but I just listened to Beatles records, you know? And so, but I would listen to it. I would listen and practice by myself in my bedroom obsessively. And so throughout life, I've always kind of figured that that's just how you do stuff. Like if you have a natural inclination and a real like drive to do something, that you can figure it out.
For many years, before I wrote The Power of Now and it became successful, I was basically a failure in the eyes of the world. So he's already almost 50. And what has he achieved? My mom said, you have thrown away your life. You had so many possibilities in your life. You walked out of graduate school in Cambridge. Why did you walk out of there? My mom and many other people said, this person has failed in life. He has no job, he has no insurance policies, nothing, no pension plan, just almost nothing in the bank. Failure. And then a few years later, people bought The Power of Now and became a bestseller. Oh, a big success. Okay, if I had derived my identity at that time from what the world was telling me, or my mind would have told me if I had been listening to my mind, I would have been very unhappy. And I didn't, though. I was fine, because my identity wasn't derived from that anymore. And fortunately, even when in the eyes of the world I suddenly became a success, I don't want to derive my identity from that. It's a cheap substitute for who I really am. So I don't derive, but the satisfaction that comes is the satisfaction that the work that's happening, the teaching that's happening is transforming people's lives. That's very satisfying. I don't get any personal satisfaction though, because I don't feel it as this separate me produced it.
I have no education. I had no high school diploma. I didn't even have a GED. So I quit high school and halfway through grade 10. I didn't have a lot of options. I would be a dishwasher or a waiter or a custodial work of some sort. So I decided I might as well go and do something creative. I decided to go to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, and the Improv, you know, all of those clubs every night, and make my 25 bucks a pop a set. It was my version of being a waiter. It was a compromise I decided to make. Out of that came In Living Color, and out of that came touring, auditoriums, 5,000 seaters. It was a really creative time. I was able to prove that I didn't have to be an impressionist, that I had a personality of my own, however abrasive it might be from time to time. But long story short, all of it came from that compromise, from that deciding to do what I didn't want to do. The things you can't do, or the things you're not allowed to do. Like if the executives come and say you can't do that, whatever it is, it's too expensive. You get angry, you get out of your mind about it because you've been clinging to this concept and this image that you have of how it should be done. And invariably, most times, after that storm has passed, and you actually sit down and go, okay, we can't do it that way, how can we do it? You end up with something even better than what was there before. And you go, that's the universe, that's how it works. Just like relationships, like everything. The thing that is taken away, and you're clinging to, and you're trying to fix, and you're trying to secure it, and make sure it doesn't go away. You think your life will be destroyed, everything will be ruined. And it's just the universe going, no, I have something better for you. Just have faith. Sometimes compromise is actually the way to get to what you want.
I don't pay no attention to what they say about me. All I do is just do what I have to do and get paid, and that's it. But I don't really pay no attention to the rules of boxing. I don't pay no attention. I defy all the rules. I've added pages to the book of boxing. I have this game as such a thing now until boxing promoters can no longer afford my shows. I have governments like Iran ready to put up $10 million for me to fight Joe Frazier. I have governments like Cairo, Egypt, wanting to put up $6 million for people like Ron Lyle. I have countries all back throughout Zaire talking to Mobutu. He wants him back again. They'll put up $5 million more for return with Foreman. When we talk about $10 million and $6 million and $4 million, this is unbelievable. And they don't expect to get the money back. They're promoting their countries and their ideals. So I've excelled so in this sport of boxing until Madison Square Garden is too small. Yankee Stadium is too small. The Houston Astrodome, the biggest promoters in the wealthiest Americans and Englishmen you can get for promotions cannot just promote me no more. You understand? So I've not only added pages to boxing, but added new sections to the boxing book.
So a friend of mine and I, we went for a run in Central Park. The Roadrunners organization, on the weekends, they host races. And it's very common at the end of the race, they'll have a sponsor who will give away something, apples or bagels or something. And on this particular day, when we got to the end of the run, there were some free bagels. And they had picnic tables set up, and on one side was a group of volunteers. On the table were boxes of bagels, and on the other side was a long line of runners waiting to get their free bagel. So I said to my friend, let's get a bagel. And he looked at me and said, the line's too long. And I said, free bagel. And he said, I don't want to wait in line. And I was like, free bagel. And he says, nah, it's too long. And that's when I realized that there's two ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. I could only see the bagels. He could only see the line. And so I walked up to the line. I leaned in between two people, put my hand in the box, and pulled out two bagels. And no one got mad at me. Because the rule is, you can go after whatever you want. You just cannot deny anyone else to go after whatever they want. Now, I had to sacrifice choice. I didn't get to choose which bagel I got. I got whatever I pulled out, but I didn't have to wait in line. So the point is you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do it the way everybody else has done it. You can do it your way. You can break the rules. You just can't get in the way of somebody else getting what they want. That's rule number one.
It takes years to become a great chef. What you need to do is establish confidence in yourself. Cooking is an amazing journey, and don't think you can learn it within 3 or 4 years. It's like studying medicine. It's over a 10 to 15 year period. I'm 42 years of age and I'm still learning new exciting things now that I bring back to the fold. but more importantly, vision, I think. I didn't think French was important at school, and I kick myself now because I went to live in France for 3 years and became bilingual. But I wish I'd studied harder with a second language on my belt. That gives you a different culture, gives you a completely different level of confidence. Learning French cuisine, mannerism, and cooking in a very robust, tenacious way. So, yeah, vision and open-mindedness. And we never cut corners. The minute you start cutting corners in food, time out. There's no worse job to have than to cut corners in food. So, attention to detail, an amazing, exciting journey. One of the very few jobs anywhere in the world that you can travel, get paid, and experience phenomenal food anywhere in the world. Brilliant.
So what advice would you give, purely in an acting sense, to yourself 30, 40 years ago?
Same advice I gave myself 30, 40 years ago. Get a job, act. There are, unfortunately, those of us who say, well, I want to be a star. That's way out there in the ether somewhere. I want to be a working actor. You can pull that off. So, act, work. Someone asked me once, and you were about to do it, what would you do if you weren't an actor? If you didn't make it as an actor, what would you do? I have no idea. I would act somewhere. Maybe I'd be driving a cab, maybe I'm working somebody's yard, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to belong to somebody's little theater group. I will act, because I'll die if I don't.
My advice would be the same for any kind of entrepreneur, and that is make sure that you are focused on something you're passionate about. So if you look at the early internet companies, they were started and focused on doing something that they thought was very interesting long before the internet was fashionable in any way. We are currently an underdog once again. We've been in business for 6 years, and there was exactly 1 year where we were not the underdog, and that was 1999. I like the underdog years because it makes, I liked it when all the people we hired, their parents told them they were crazy. Like that was kind of the good era. Fortunately, it's back. In 1999, all the parents were like, giving their brothers and sisters high fives. My son is working at Amazon.com. So that's a very, you can't follow the fashion when you're trying to do a startup company, or I think really anything in life. But you have to, as an entrepreneur, if you're gonna build a company, pick something you think is interesting that has the intersection of genuinely creating real customer value, and then just stay right there and let the wave catch you.
Found, 12 years of research, 11,000 pieces of data. I did not interview in all that time a person who would describe themselves as joyful or describe their lives as joyous, who did not actively practice gratitude. And for me, it was very counterintuitive because I kind of went into the research thinking that the relationship between joy and gratitude was, if you're joyful, then you should be grateful. But it wasn't that way at all. It was really that practicing gratitude invites joy into our lives. And when I say practice, I think this is the part that really changed my life. It changed my family and the way we live every day. When I say practice gratitude, I don't mean kind of like the attitude of gratitude or feeling grateful. I mean practicing gratitude. These folks shared in common a tangible gratitude practice. They either kept gratitude journals. Some of them did interesting things like at 1, 2, 3, 4, like at 12:34 every day, they said something out loud that they were grateful for. They, one of the things that we do, like we say grace at dinner. And so now after grace, we go around and everyone in my family says something they're grateful for. I mean, and what's interesting is when we first started, I have a first grade son, Charlie, and 8th grade daughter, Ellen. And at first I thought, and we've been doing it for a couple of years now, like they're gonna like, oh God, Mom. And there was a little like, this is, are you experimenting on us? There was a little bit of that. But now what's interesting, even after we did it for like a couple of weeks, that on those crazy busy nights where we're trying to like get to soccer and piano and homework, and Steve and I are just like, we say a quick prayer and we start eating, and my kids are like, whoa, what are you grateful for? And it's been extraordinary because not only absolutely does it invite more joy into our house, it also is such a soulful window into what's going on in my kids' lives. So there are some days when my 8th grader will be like, I'm joyful that there's a huge thick wall between my room and my brother's room. Something just very, honest. But there are other days she'll say, she had a friend whose mother recently died, and she said, for a month she would say, I'm just so grateful that y'all are healthy right now. And so not only did it make us all more aware of what we had and more willing to slow down and really be thankful for the joyful moments we had, but it let me know where she was emotionally in her life. And my son is always, I'm grateful for bugs, I'm grateful for frogs, but sometimes he'll say, I'm grateful that you picked me up early, or, I'm grateful that I finally understand adjectives, So there's a great quote that says, it's not joy that makes us grateful, it's gratitude that makes us joyful. And it's by a Jesuit priest. And I guess I was just amazed to find that bubble up so strongly in the research. It's life-changing.
And I also know, career-wise, how important it is not to be too highly specialized, especially these days in the world of media. It is crucial to have multiple interests and skill sets, to have tried and possibly failed at many different undertakings. The young people that we hire today at Condé Nast are fearless polymaths, hardworking and passionate, creative and curious.
Don't be afraid to fail. Because if you're afraid to fail, then you're always holding yourself back because you're afraid that if you go all out, you may fail. Well, in weightlifting, we learned that very quickly. The only way you could break a record is if you're willing to fail. That's when you put on more weight, you try it, sometimes you would not be able to lift it, which has happened to me many times, but eventually, when you train hard enough, you will lift it. So don't be afraid to fail. How far can you fall?
There's too much money here. Nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic, that's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1,000,000 billion and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion, but can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? Why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and then somebody's starving. And they're having a white Christmas. They're having a great Christmas, eggnog and the whole nine. That's not fair to me.
Says you can hold a ballet, and that can be successful. And you can hold a rock concert, and that can be successful. Just don't hold a ballet and advertise it as a rock concert. And so you need to be clear with all of your stakeholders with, are you holding a ballet or are you holding a rock concert? And then people get to self-select in. We hire people who are really motivated by building new customer experiences. They like to pioneer, they like the rate of change. They wake up in the shower motivated by thinking about customers. And occasionally somebody joins Amazon who their primary motivation comes from thinking about competition or competitors. Those people can find Amazon a little dull. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's just that different people are motivated by different things. And what happens with corporate cultures is that over time, people collect themselves in a way where they like that culture, and then it becomes self-sustaining.
It's not that difficult, really, to step out of the stream of thinking. One way, of course, is meditation. The traditional approach is You have certain periods of time, once or twice a day, when you sit down, close your eyes, and instead of involuntarily being drawn into the continuous stream of thinking, you usually with meditation, you have a technique or method. You focus your attention on one thing, which could be a mantra that you repeat. It could be your breathing. It's a very ancient meditation. It could be the inner feeling in your body, the sense of aliveness that pervades your body. In other words, you take attention away from thinking, and that's already a great realization that you are able, actually have a choice of directing attention. You don't have to go with your attention all the time where the habitual thought patterns want you to go. The habitual thought patterns want your attention every time. Every thought says, I matter, give me your attention, follow me, they go this way. And another negative thought, and another one, and another one.
You need to be able to sell, whether it's Kickstarter, whether it's New York Times, whether it's your local newspaper. You need to be able to communicate effectively and sell, which is why when entrepreneurs ask me for books to read outside of business books, I say, On Writing Well, Bird by Bird, all books on writing, improving communication. David Ogilvy on advertising, study print ads where you have very little space. I think those are all very, very effective. The best entrepreneurs I've ever met are all good communicators. It's perhaps one of the very few unifying factors. They're exceptional communicators. Practice is the only way to get better at communicating. And practicing speaking does not provide you generally with something to review later, which is why the written word is so powerful. Yeah. Writing is thought crystallized on a piece of paper that can then be reviewed. It's very difficult to do that with speech, which is why I recommend people focus on honing their skills in writing and take time to study good direct response ads. Take time to, for instance, maybe develop a swipe file. So one of the things that I did for years is anytime I bought something, I would identify the ad, the phone call, the print ad, the offer, whatever it was that made me decide to buy it, and I would either cut it out or record it, put it into Evernote, whatever it might be, and save it. So I had a record of everything that I bought and why I bought it. And then I could go back and review it, and I'd be like, oh, looks like I fell for this, this, and this. Not in a bad way. Yeah. It looks like this tipped me from or not interested to, yeah, I'll spend $550, $500, $5,000 on that. Yeah. I save all that. Everything that works in sales has been done already. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. So just keep track of the crap that you buy or the awesome stuff that you buy and decide, what was the trigger? What pushed me over the edge? And then just sell to people like you. That's what I do. It's really easy. People are like, who's your market? I'm like, well, I'm a 30-something SF-based tech-savvy male, so why don't I just sell to those people? It makes it a lot easier than trying to guess.
My first passion before food was football. But I was always a good eater, great lover of food, and I grew up partly in Scotland, partly down south. So we had that sort of token of appreciation of home-cooked food. Then I was very lucky to get on a foundation course, spending the last year of my school at a foundation course, studying maths, English 2.5 days a week, and then learning to cook for 2.5 days a week, and it was a sort of new experiment. Now we had trouble with buying my first set of whites and chef knives, and we depended on the Banbury round table to come up with something like £85, £90 that Mum and Dad didn't have to get my first set of whites. So I still remember that day now and how ecstatic and happy I was when I got given my first set of whites, my knives, and all of a sudden I wanted to go on that mission. Football was a sort of huge burning ambition, and I was trying to decide. Yeah, I had a horrific injury where I smashed my cartilage, and then all of a sudden, what do? You sit there and get bitter. But I had this little burning desire of this sort of chef, this ambition, and then I sort of channeled that frustration from football into cooking in a way that I just wanted to learn. The foundation course was huge. Did a Sitting Guild 706. I was a mature part-time student, and Mum and Dad didn't have the money to send me to college full-time. So it was hard, but what I did do is take a job in the industry. I worked 6 days a week and went to college 1 day a week. So then everything started becoming clearer. Got my qualifications, the basic, and then went to London. And that's where it really just, took off.
If you want to be successful in starting a business, then you study what people have learned, and everything that people have learned they've written down or shared in seminars or put onto audio programs is, I learned this from a very wise man named Kopmeyer, who spent more than 50 years studying success. And he had developed more than 1,000 success principles that he had derived out of something like 6,000 books. And when I met him, I asked him the question you would ask. Of all these 1,000 principles, because I had studied it all, which is the most important principle of all? And he said, Brian, he said, it's simple. He said, use proven success methods. He said, learn from the experts. He said, Brian, you'll never live long enough to learn it all for yourself. So what I find is that successful people are those who learn from others who've gone before them. Unsuccessful people try to make it all up, like a cook going into the kitchen, taking ingredients out of the cupboards, throwing them all in a bowl, and wondering why it doesn't taste good. This is why people's sales careers, why 80% of salespeople are functioning well below their potential. Only 20% make all the money. Why 20% of businesses in any industry make all the profits. Why 20% of the professionals in any service make 80% of the money, and so on, is because they follow proven success principles, proven recipes, proven formulas, proven combinations, and they just do them over and over again until they master them. Then they can do more and more of them, faster and faster, easier and easier, at a higher level of quality. And all that translates into greater results.
I was presentable, but I wore the same 2 suits. Yeah. I had 2 suits, man, that I had to wear every day for a year. One blue, one gray. The joke around the office started, oh, that's Chris Gardner, he's reenacting the Civil War. Some days he's with the North, some days he's with the South.
So many people I talked to at that time for Alipay, they say, this is the stupidest idea you have ever got. But I say, I don't know the stupid or clever, as long as people use it. Now we have 800 million people using this Alipay.
So to really take a longer term view, not just to look 3 months from now, but look 3 years from now, and the future's going to come whether you like it or not. So you want to kind of be one step ahead.
It's a mind game then?
I think it's psychology and everything. Again, most of life comes down to psychology, doesn't it? It starts here in the internal world. Before you can master the external world, you have to master your own internal world. That's the true secret to success.
There are many ways to get the things that we want for ourselves in our lives. But basically, it all begins with how we choose to think. As you think, so shall you be. 7 little words that I think are perhaps the most important things that we can learn and master in our lives. This old proverb notion that I become what I think about all day long. And once you know that what you think about is what expands, you start getting real careful about what you think about. You don't allow your thoughts to be on anything that you don't want, or that you wouldn't want to have manifest or show up for you in your life.
I'm at my best when I'm around people who believe what I believe. I know it seems silly, but I try very, very hard to sort of stack the deck, to put myself in a position of strength. So for example, somebody asked me just yesterday, have you ever had sort of a bad engagement? And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, not really. But it's not because I'm some sort of genius or anything like that. It's because I stack the deck. It's because I want to be there. I want to be around people who want me there. In other words, if I'm somebody's 10th choice, I'll probably turn it down. Whereas if I'm their first choice, they really want me there, and so I'm more likely to have a good engagement. They're supportive of me, I'm supportive of them, and so I'm at my best when I stack the deck, when I choose to be in an environment where my strengths are there.
Part of your financial IQ is to know there's 3 types of income. So if you're going to say work hard, most people are working hard for earned income, and that's what these guys are working for. The trouble with earned income in America, your tax rate's approximately 50%. Whereas Warren Buffett says it's a shame that his secretary pays a higher percentage in taxes than he did, although he makes billions of dollars. So when you say to a child, go to school and get a safe, secure job, you tell them to work for earned income, the worst type of income. The second type of income is portfolio income. And today, as I speak, and they're trying to change this, it's about 20%. And portfolio income is generally known as capital gains. So if I buy a stock for $10 and I sell it for $50, the $40 gain is taxed at 20%. Or if I buy a house for $100,000 and I sell it for $200,000, that's a capital gains type event. So you pay a lot of tax for that. And the third type of income, which is the best type of income, excuse me, I can't spell again, is passive income. And this is income that just comes in on a regular basis. One of the reasons I am wealthy and is able to retire at a young age is because I worked hard for passive income, not earned income. I don't flip real estate generally, not portfolio income. I don't flip stocks. I want passive income. So today, the new rules of money, it's important to understand what are you going to school to become, ES, entrepreneur or investor, and what kind of income you're working hard for, earned, portfolio, or passive. And if you know what you're doing, you can pay 0% taxes legally. And this can be done all over the world. People say, we can't do it in my country. Well, these people can't do it in any country, but in most parts of the world, governments need these people. So they're always giving tax incentives for investors and business owners who work for passive income. So those are some of the new rules of money. You've really got to know what you're working hard at and what kind of work are you performing, what kind of income are you working hard for.